Jai Hind students. So today we are here with another lecture in embedded systems. This is another one of the complex topics which we are going to cover, serial bus communication protocols. So basically communication can be serial communication or parallel communication. When we talk about serial communication, it is bit by bit, okay, and over a single line. So the communication which is happening over a single line and bit by bit is called serial communication. And in this, in your syllabus as prescribed by AKTU, we have two important serial bus communication protocols, that is SPI and I2C. SPI stands for Serial Peripheral Interface and I2C stands for Inter-Integrated Circuits. So we are going to study both of these protocols one by one. First of all, Serial Peripheral Interface, SPI. So SPI is a synchronous serial communication protocol. So what is the term synchronous means here? So communication can be of two types, as I have already mentioned in the previous slide, serial and parallel. And both of these serial and parallel can be synchronous, asynchronous. Similarly, parallel can be synchronous, asynchronous. Now we are talking about serial communication protocols in which the data transmission is taking place bit by bit over a single line. Okay, so also in serial, when we talk about synchronous communication, it means the communication is synchronized with the help of a clock signal between transmitter and receiver. Okay, so in asynchronous communication, there will be absence of clock signal. No clock signal will be shared between transmitter and receiver, and there will be no synchronization for data communication. SPI is a synchronous serial communication interface specification which is used for short distance communication. It is used for short distance communication. Its interface was developed by Motorola in 1980s and it communicates in full duplex mode using master-slave architecture with a single master. The master device originates the frame for reading and writing, and multiple slave devices are there with support through selection, slave selection with lines. Okay, so in the first slide, you will get all the characteristics of SPI which may be asked in a 2-number question. So what is SPI? It is a serial communication protocol. It is a synchronous protocol because a clock signal will be shared between transmitter and receiver. It will operate in master-slave type of architecture, okay, where the master can select the among the different slaves using slave select signal, SS, slave select signal. Any number of bits can be sent or received in a continuous stream. So there will be a continuous stream of bits and they can be sent or received. Any number can be sent or received. In SPI, only one side generates the clock signal. So clock signal will be generated by one side. Okay, that's why we are calling it as a synchronous communication protocol. The side that generates the clock is called master and the other side is called the slave. So which one is the master? The master device is one which is generating the clock signal and the slave is the other one which is not generating the clock signal. So master is the controlling device, usually which is a microcontroller, while the slave, usually sensor, display, memory chip, takes the instructions from the master. So when we thought about an embedded system, an embedded product, what it includes? It includes a microcontroller, okay, a sensor, maybe a display device, maybe an LED, and all these components. So the microcontroller here is the master device which is controlling all the other components like your display devices, your LEDs, your sensors and so on. These are acting like a slave. So this type of communication is can be controlled with the help of SPI, that is Serial Peripheral Interface Protocol. Now these are the important 4 logic signals which are shared between the master and the slave. So here we have the master device and here we have the slave device. So first signal is master output and slave input. Master output and slave input. And you can see that the point of the arrow is like this. From the master to the slave. Data output from master. Then the another signal is master input slave output. So the another signal, the arrow is pointing from the slave to the master. That means the data can be sent from slave to master as well. And this is called MISO, master input, slave output. Okay, and this is the data output from the slave. Then we have the clock signal. As we have already mentioned that this is a synchronous type of communication protocol. So there must be a clock signal shared. And who will share the clock signal? The master will share the clock signal to the slave device. So here the master is sending the clock signal S clock, serial clock, which stands for serial clock, which is the output from master, and it is going towards the slave device. Okay. Now, there may be a case when there is one master and multiple slaves. So, how your master will select a particular slave at a particular point of time? For that, it has another signal which is called slave select or chip select. Slave select, and it is equivalent to chip select. It is an active low type signal, and you know, when an active low type signal is there, when we pass 0 to it, it gets activated on lows. So, this is the chip select line or the slave select line through which your master device can select a particular slave among a number of slaves which are attached in the configuration. SPI is a synchronous communication protocol. We have already gone through this. The clock signal synchronizes the output data bits from the master with sampling of bits by the slave. One bit of data is transferred in each clock cycle. This is the meaning of synchronization. That means with the clock cycle, as the clock cycle moves, one bit of data is transferred for every clock cycle. So the speed of data transfer is determined by the frequency of the clock signal. So what is the frequency of clock signal is here equivalent to, directly proportional to the speed with which the data is being transmitted from master to slave. SPI communication is always initiated by the master, since the master configures and generates the clock signal. Okay, so the communication will be initiated by the master only. The master can choose which slave it wants to communicate by using the slave select line, CS or SS, which is active low type of line. Okay, so by passing a 0 to it, it will get activated. Non-transmission state mein kya hoga? In the idle non-transmitting state, the slave select line is kept at a high voltage level. Okay, because it is a active low signal. When it is not in use, it will be kept at a high level, high voltage level. Now, these are the SPI configurations. As you can see from here, there is one master and there are 3 slaves. Slave number 1, slave number 2 and slave number 3. Okay, so multiple slave select SS pins may be available on the same master, which allows for multiple slaves to be wired in parallel. Okay, and accordingly it is having, this master is having 3 slave select lines, SS1, SS2 and SS3. Okay, if one of the chip select or slave select pin is present, multiple slaves can be wired to the master via daisy chaining. Then what we do is, there in this case you can see one master is there, but again 3 slaves are there, but we are connecting these through daisy chaining. Through the master input slave output, this is connected, through this is connected, and so on. Let us see the procedure one by one, how the data transmission occurs in SPI protocol. So the first step is the master outputs the clock signal. सबसे पहला step क्या होगा? Through S clock, this is S clock line, and your master is sending the clock signal to your slave. In second point, the master switches the slave select or chip select pin to low voltage, which activates the slave. In order to activate the desired slave out of many slaves, the master device will send the SS or the chip select signal to low, to 0. As you can see here, it is sending the signal from high to low so that the desired slave can be activated. Third step, the master sends the data 1 bit at a time to the slave along the master output slave input line. So this is the master output slave input line on which the data is being transmitted bit by bit to the slave from master. And you can see from the diagram that this is the clock signal. Okay, this is the clock signal and this is the data. So the data and the clock signal are in synchronization, or we can say every bit is transmitted, only 1 bit is transmitted in 1 clock cycle. Okay, this is 1 clock cycle, 1 bit is transmitted. In another 1 bit clock cycle, 1 bit is transmitted, and so on. Now, in the fourth step, if the response is needed, agar response ki zarurat hai, in that case, the slave will return the data 1 bit at a time to the master along the MISO line, that is master input slave output. So, in case if some data is also required or some response is also required from the slave side, then in this case, the slave will send the data bit by bit again from the line MISO, that is master input slave output. The transmissions normally involve 2 shift registers. 2 shift registers are involved in this kind. may be of size 8 bits. One is the master and one in the slave. So the registers can be seen like this. This is the master device, this is a slave device. Clock signal will be shared and there will be an 8 bit of shift register present here and there will be an 8 bit of shift register present here. They are connected in a virtual ring topology and data is usually shifted out with most significant bit first. Okay, so the data shifting is taking place from the MSB, most significant bit. On the clock edge, both master and slave shift out a bit and output it on the transmission line to the counterpart. This we have already seen in the previous slides, how the data transmission is taking place between a master and slave device in SPI, that is Serial Peripheral Interface Protocol. After the register bits have been shifted out, the master and the slave have exchanged the register values. Okay, the entire values are exchanged bit by bit in a ring kind of fashion. If more data needs to be exchanged, the shift registers are reloaded and the process repeats. Okay, in case if you have completed an 8 bit of data and more data needs to be exchanged, the shift registers will be again reloaded and the entire process will be repeated again. Transmission may continue for any number of clock cycles. There may be any number of clock cycles completed. When completed, the master stops toggling the clock signal and typically deselect the slave. So to mark the end of or the termination of this kind of data transmission, the master device will deselect the slave and it will stop the clock signal. Advantages, let us see what are the advantages of this kind of protocol. It is full duplex kind of communication in which both the devices can send the data simultaneously. Push-pull drivers are used to provide good signal integrity and high speed. High throughput. Throughput means the number of successful data delivery ratio. Okay, and then I2C, that is inter-integrated circuit, which we are going to study after this. Not limited to any maximum clock speed. Potentially high speed is achieved through this. Not limited to 8-bit words. Slave uses master's clock and do not need precision oscillators, and slaves do not need a unique address, unlike I2C and other protocols which are used for serial bus communication. So these are some of the advantages of SPI which you can note for your reference. Limitations. What are the limitations of SPI? It requires more pins on IC package than I2C. As compared to inter-integrated circuit protocol, the hardware of SPI will require more number of pins because the number of signals that are used in SPI are more as compared to I2C. No hardware flow control by the slave. No hardware slave acknowledgement is there. No acknowledgement signal is there. Typically supports only one master device. Okay, master can be one only. No error checking protocol is defined for SPI. So these are the limitations of SPI. Where SPI can be used? What are the applications? It is used to talk to a variety of peripherals such as sensors, including a variety of sensors including temperature, pressure, ADCs, touchscreens, video game controllers, etc. So the mode of communication can be from one to many, from one master to many slaves, and there are a variety of sensors which can be integrated. Control devices like audio codes, digital potentiometers, DSCs, etc. Memory, flash and EEPROM, electronically erasable programmable read-only memories, real-time clocks, LCDs, MMC or SD cards. So these all are the application areas of SPI. Now, moving on to the next protocol which we are going to study today is I2C. I2C is inter-integrated circuit. So the full form of I2C here is inter-integrated circuit. I2C is again a serial communication protocol. We have already studied what a serial communication protocol is there. The bit transmission, the data transmission is bit by bit on a single line. So data is transferred bit by bit along a single wire or a single line, which we call the SDA line. Okay. Like SPI, I2C is also synchronous, which means that there must be a clock signal shared between transmitter and receiver. So the output bit is synchronized to the sampling of bits by a clock signal shared between the master and the slave. I2C combines the best features of SPI and UARTs. UARTs. What is UARTs? UART stands for Universal Asynchronous Receiver Transmitter. So universal asynchronous receiver transmitters have some advantages, SPI has some advantages, and then we have a protocol called I2C, Inter-Integrated Circuits, which is combining the best of both of them. Okay. With I2C, we can connect multiple slaves to a single master like SPI, and also you have the multiple masters controlling a single or multiple slaves. Okay, in SPI, it was a disadvantage of SPI that there can be only one master and there can be multiple slaves. However, with I2C, you can have multiple slaves also, you can have multiple masters also. This is really useful when you want to have more than one microcontroller logging data to a single memory card or displaying text to a single LCD. Okay, so there are various applications in which we require more than one microcontroller. Okay, coprocessors, where we have different processors working in correlation with each other. So in that type of systems, we can go for I2C because it supports multiple master configuration as well. Now, let us check, like UART communication, Universal Asynchronous Receiver Transmitter, I2C uses only 2 wires to transmit. So this is one of the advantage of I2C over SPI, that it is using only 2 lines. One line is called serial data and one line is called serial clock. So it is using only one line for data transmission. So you can see it is a bidirectional arrow. Data can flow from master to slave, as well as on this single line only the data can flow from slave to master. And for clock signal, there is a single line called SCL, which is flowing from master to slave. With I2C, data transferred in messages. The data transfer takes place in the form of messages. Messages are broken up into frames of data, and each message has an address frame that contains the binary address of the slave. You can check the message format from here. So this is a message which forms, this is the stop bit, this is the acknowledgement, not acknowledgement bit. Then we have the data frame of 8 bits. Again, we have acknowledgement, not acknowledgement bit. There can be multiple data frames combined in a single message. So another data frame of 8 bits is there. Acknowledgement, not acknowledgement bit, read write bit, to indicate whether a whether a master device wants to read or perform the write operation. So we have a read write bit. Then we have the address frame. This is the 7 or 10 bit address of whom? This is the address of the intended slave. कि किसका address है, कौन से slave के पास पहुंचना है, ठीक है? In the case of SPI, the masters used to have a chip select or slave select signal to indicate or to select a particular slave out of various slaves. Now, in this case, in the case of I2C, messages are there. Messages are formed in which the 7 or 10 bits, up to 10 bits of slave address is there. And then there is a start condition, a start bit. Okay. So, each message has an address frame that contains the binary address of the slave and one or more data frames that contains the data which is being transmitted. So, we have data frame, multiple data frames can be there. There is an address of the intended recipient, that is the intended slave. The message also includes start and stop conditions, read/write bits, acknowledgement, not acknowledgement bits. Okay. So, this is a message frame for I2C. Start condition, let us check these one by one, these frames. Start condition, the SDA line switches from high voltage level to low voltage level, that is like this, before SCL switches from high to low. This is called start condition. Stop condition, the SDA line switches from low voltage level to high voltage to mark the stop condition. This is the stop condition where the SDA line switches from low voltage to high voltage level. Address frame, this is a 7 or 10 bit sequence unique to each slave that identifies the slave when master wants to talk to it. Then we have the read/write bit. As I have already told you, the address frame includes single bit at the end that informs the slave whether the master wants to write the data to it or receive the data to it. Okay. So, this bit is used to inform the slave that currently the master is, requiring read operation or it is requiring write operation to be done. Okay. So, how it will be read, isko padhenge kaise? The read write bit is low voltage level if it has to send data to the slave. If the master is requesting data from the slave, the bit is high voltage level. Okay. So, if agar write operation perform karna hai aapke master device ko, then this read write bit will be low, और अगर इसको read operation perform करना है, then this will be active high. Okay, it means this is low voltage level, and this is high voltage level. Then we have acknowledgement not acknowledgement bit. Each frame in the message is followed by acknowledgement not acknowledgement bit. If an address frame or data frame was successfully received, acknowledgement bit is returned to the sender from the receiving device. Okay, so this was also not present in the case of SPI, that no acknowledgement protocol, no acknowledgement method was there. But in here, after each data frame and message address frame, we are having a acknowledgement not acknowledgement bit. I2C does not have slave select lines. तो इसके पास slave select lines तो है नहीं. So it needs another way to let the slave know that data is being sent to it. Okay, and this is done by addressing. As you have seen in the previous slides, that the message which is being drafted, it is having an address frame. Here the address of the intended slave is being kept. Okay, so unlike SPI, serial peripheral interface, which was having slave select lines, here slave select lines तो present है नहीं, they are not present. So what is the method to mark a particular slave or to make it realize that yes, you are the intended recipient for this message? So this is done by addressing. The address frame is always the first frame after the start bit. The master sends the address of the slave it wants to communicate with to every slave it connected to it. Okay, जितने भी slaves आपके master से connected हैं, सभी को ये message जाएगा. और जो इंटेंडेड रेसिपिएंट है वो जब अपना एड्रेस मैच कर लेगा, इट विल नो दैट यस आई हैव टू बी एक्टिवेटेड, एंड देन इट विल सेंड एन एक्नॉलेजमेंट टू द मास्टर बैक. तो एक्नॉलेजमेंट जहां से आया, दैट लाइन विल बी एक्टिवेटेड. आफ्टर द मास्टर डिटेक्ट्स द एक्नॉलेजमेंट बिट फ्रॉम द इंटेंडेड स्लेव, फर्स्ट डेटा फ्रेम इज रेडी टू बी सेंट, एंड दिस इज 8 bits long. Okay, फॉर ईच डेटा फ्रेम अगेन देयर विल बी एक्नॉलेजमेंट नॉट एक्नॉलेजमेंट बिट to verify that the frame has been received successfully. Another advantage of I2C. After all the data frames have been sent, master can send a stop condition. हमने पढ़ा था stop condition कैसे होती है. For stop condition, the voltage transition is from low to high on the SDA line. Let us check it through diagrams. This is a configuration where we have one master and 3 slaves. Slave number 1, slave number 2, and slave number 3. And there are only 2 lines for communication in I2C, SDA and SCL. This is for clock and this is for data. So how communication will take place? सबसे पहले क्या होगा? The master sends each slave 7 or 10 bit address. सभी के सभी को ये एक 7 bit का या 10 bit का up to 7 to 10 bits का ये एड्रेस भेजेगा. यहाँ पे एड्रेस मैच नहीं हुआ, यहाँ पे नहीं हुआ, यहाँ एड्रेस मैच हो गया. ठीक है, तो यहाँ एड्रेस मैच हो गया. दिस स्लेव विल सेंड बैक एन एक्नॉलेजमेंट. दिस स्लेव जिसने मैच किया था तो ये एक्नॉलेजमेंट भेजेगा डेटा लाइन पे. इसने एक्नॉलेजमेंट भेजा, उसके बाद डाटा आएगा, ना इधर आएगा ना इधर आएगा. इस वाली लाइन पे डाटा आया, सॉरी दिस इज रॉन्ग, इस वाली लाइन पे डाटा आया. कहां से आया? फ्रॉम एसडीए लाइन, फ्रॉम मास्टर टू स्लेव. यू कैन सी द डेटा हियर अलोंग विद द क्लॉक. एससीएल पे तो लगातार क्लॉक चल ही रहा है. Now after receiving the data frame, what this slave 3 will do? It will send an acknowledgement. So this is acknowledgement sent from slave 3 to master, that yes, successfully I have received the data packet. Now to stop the data transmission, the master will do high to low. This is the switching of high to low line, SC, SDA. Okay, on SDA, the master device will send high to low signal to indicate that yes, now the data has been transmitted successfully. I have received the acknowledgement, and now this is the stop bit. Now I want to stop the transmission. So this is the entire process of data transmission in I2C, which is controlled with the help of messages. What are the advantages? सबसे पहला advantage, it use only 2 wires. केवल 2 वायर यूज हो रहे हैं, एक डाटा के लिए, एक क्लॉक के लिए. सो द नंबर ऑफ पिन्स ऑन द हार्डवेयर विल बी स्मॉल, लो. A particular strength of I2C is the capability of microcontroller to control a network or device with just 2 general purpose input output pins. Okay, so it can support multiple masters and multiple slaves, which was not possible with SPI. Acknowledgement not acknowledgement bits gives the confirmation that each frame is transferred successfully. ठीक है, हर एक बिट के बाद, हर एक डेटा फ्रेम के बाद, हर एक ट्रांसमिशन ऑफ एड्रेस के बाद एक्नॉलेजमेंट नॉट एक्नॉलेजमेंट फ्रेम्स आर देयर. Hardware is less complicated, well known and widely used protocol. Disadvantages, slower data transfer rate as compared to SPI, क्योंकि यहाँ पे आपको acknowledgement not acknowledgement bits भी आ रही हैं, आपका एड्रेस भी ट्रांसमिट हो रहा है, so data transmission process will be a bit slower as compared to SPI. Size of data frames is limited to 8 bits. यहाँ पे आप डेटा बिट्स का, डाटा फ्रेम्स का जो साइज तय कर सकते हैं, that is limited to 8 bits only. More complicated hardware needs to be implemented than SPI. Where I2C can be used? It is appropriate for peripherals where simplicity and low manufacturing cost are more important than speed. Okay, so if our application requires simplicity and low manufacturing cost as compared to speed, we can go for I2C. Common applications of I2C buses are describing connectable devices via room, to enable plug and play operations such as in serial presence detect, EEPROMs, dual line in memory modules, extended display identification data, monitors via VGA, DVI, HDMI connectors, system management for PC systems, accessing real-time clocks. So these are some of the areas or some of the domains where you can use the I2C protocol. So this lecture was all about two important serial bus communication protocols, that is SPI and I2C. There are some similarities between both of them. There are some differences between both of them. So you need to know each and every protocol thoroughly. What are the similarities? What are the differences? Because these questions are very frequently asked. Low speed DACs, ADCs में भी इसको use कर सकते हैं. Changing contrast, hue, color, balance sheets in monitors, OLEDs or LCD displays में, reading hardware monitors and diagnostic sensors, turning on and turning off the power supply of system components. So that's all for this lecture. Thank you, students.